Okay, I'm going to start the presentation, and hopefully some people are watching live or going to pick it up a little bit later in the recording. So welcome to this kind of webinar. I'm just going to talk through our foundation degree in physical education and sports coaching and our Bachelor of Science degree in sports coaching science. My name is Paul Dancy, and I am the program director for these two programs. And I'm just going to talk through the kind of outline of these programs, the kind of content that we cover on them, to give you a bit of an idea about what we cover and kind of how we teach and how we assess, and some of the things that our students have gone on to do since graduating with us. So our coaching degrees have been running at St Mary's for around kind of 10 years or more now. So we've kind of delivered them for a long period of time. We've had a lot of success from our with our students in terms of the outputs that they've managed to gain and the jobs they've managed to achieve to get from it. So without further ado, I will move on. So the types of skills that we look to develop while you're a student with us, obviously the academic skills are really important. We're looking to develop an understanding of coaching, what is important, develop an understanding why we're doing something, and that allows us to be critical of our own coaching practice and other people's coaching practice that we see. So if we have a really good grounding of understanding about effectiveness of coaching, and that'll give us a better indication about why we're doing something and whether what we've done so far has been effective or not, and whether we can change what we do. And also we look to develop independent students who can study. So study on their own. So be able to research something, find something out, and then being able to apply that in a coaching setting. In terms of professional skills, we look to develop kind of obviously practical coaching skills. So being able to lead a group, being able to coach different kind of skills or elements of play. And then also there's coaching experience that you'll get while you're here. So as I'll go on to in a minute, there are work placement modules and a third year placement module in our Bachelor of Science degree that students have to do. Therefore, they're kind of getting that coaching exposure and experience on top of what they've already got or alongside coaching work they already have. So they're in a better position to get coaching work either while they're a student or when they've graduated with us. And then obviously the social aspect, so understanding how to get along with people in a social environment, how to work with a coaching group or a group of coaches, and the other aspects that come along with that in terms of analysis and strength and conditioning potentially, and just being a part of that kind of wider perspective, I suppose. And then some of the key soft skills that our students develop while they're with us, obviously writing skills are so important. Even as a coach, you need to be able to communicate really clearly with stakeholders, whether it be parents or directors of sport or to the players that you're kind of coaching. So the writing skills are really important. Being able to present in front of a group, either virtually or face to face, and just being able to communicate effectively, either within a session or outside of a session. Those communication skills are absolutely vital if you want to be a good sports coach. Okay, so in terms of our environment, probably being at Richmond College, you've probably got a decent idea about the environment because we're just up the road, really. We've got a really nice campus. It's pretty green. We've got an athletics running track in the middle of the campus. We've got sports facilities here as well, indoor and outdoor. And then down the road at Teddington Lock, we've got more outdoor sports facilities. So there's a all-weather hockey pitch down there, and there are grass pitches that we use as well for some of our practical sessions. So we'll do some of our practicals indoors or outdoors, depending on the sport and the time of year. And then some of the indoor facilities that you can see on the pictures here, we've got physiology and biomechanics labs. So for those students that are particularly interested in those areas and go on to study them in second year and third year especially, then you'll have use of those lab spaces. Okay, so I'm just going to talk now a little bit about the degrees and what we cover. The first one here is a foundation degree in physical education and sports coaching. This is a 2-year degree and has kind of lower entry requirements compared to our 3-year Bachelor of Science degree that I'll come on to in a moment. And we've just updated this degree, and we've just kind of updated the curriculum. So we've included physical education content within here. And the reason we've done that is because lots of our students either work in an education setting, so that they're either kind of teaching assistants, or they teach PE in primary schools, for example, or they work for coaching companies who deliver PE or after school clubs for primary schools, especially. Also, lots of our students go on to be teachers. So we've included this physical education content to kind of complement that, really. So you can see here the modules, we've got 3 in each semester. So in semester 1, in first year, we've got coaching process, you've got sports psychology and skill acquisition, and we've got holistic development. And then in semester 2, we've got teaching and coaching games, health and well-being, and professional development. So hopefully there's some subject areas here that you're familiar with. So you're probably studying kind of sports psychology and skill acquisition. And you may be doing some kind of practical coaching aspects as well within your program. If you're not, it doesn't matter. So if you haven't got much coaching experience before you come, that is absolutely fine, because we'll kind of develop that while you're here with us. So the coaching process module is very practical. So we look to kind of apply what we've learned in the classroom to our coaching session. So we have lots of practical within that module. The sports psychology and skill acquisition content looks at things like information processing, the use of memory, different kind of practice structures that we may put in place. And then the sports psych stuff looks at attention, anxiety, self-confidence, and those kind of key psychological aspects that we look to enhance in our athletes that we're coaching. Holistic development looks very much at the social, psychological, physical development of young people. These are really key topic to cover, especially if you're going to be coaching young people, because it's looking at developing the whole person. And then we've got the teaching and coaching games, which is very much more of the PE side of things, how we might deliver that within physical education. And then we've got health and well-being and professional development. The health and well-being stuff is very much around mental and physical well-being, which is such an important thing, especially in the current climate, working with young people, because it's kind of on the increase. Mental health issues especially are on the increase in young people. And then professional development looks at how you can develop your kind of CV, interview skills, those kinds of things that will stand you in good stead when you're applying for work. And then you can in the second year, you've got the blue modules there, which are kind of core, the ones you have to do. And then you can choose one of the ones in kind of black text there, one from each semester. At the end of your degree, you can choose then whether you go and top up. So go into the third year, if you pass all of the modules, fine. Go into the third year of either the sports coaching science degree, if you're looking to go into more performance coaching, or if you're looking to go into kind of more participation and kind of physical education settings, then you can do the BA in physical education, sport and youth development. So you've got that choice that you can make, depending on what you think your career path will be. Okay, so that's the foundation degree in physical education, which is a 2-year degree, which you can top up to make a 3-year degree. And then the BSc Sports Coaching Science degree is a 3-year program. All the modules in blue here are core modules, the modules you have to do. And the ones in black are optional modules that you can take. Some of the content is similar to the previous module. For example, you've got the coaching process module and you've got skill acquisition and sports psychology. However, you've got the inclusion of field-based techniques, which is like a strength and conditioning movement type module. You've got physiology, biomechanics and research methods. So there's a bigger emphasis on the science modules. So if that's more of a strength of yours, then this degree is probably for you. And then you can then choose these modules, these kind of pathways as you go throughout the degree, and depending on what you think your strengths are and what it is that you think you're going to coach. So if you're going to be an elite endurance kind of coach, then probably physiology is going to be important. If you're a gymnastics coach, then probably biomechanics is going to be really key. If you're a team sports coach like football, rugby, then maybe notational analysis and performance analysis will be important. So you can kind of pick and choose what degree you think or what modules you think are going to suit you most effectively. Okay, so there's a fair amount of flexibility within the degree. So something I want you to focus on here is there's a placement module in your first semester of third year that you have to do, and we're going to come out and assess you in your place of somewhere where you're coaching. So most students by this point are coaching somewhere, will come out and assess you in that, and then you have some other written assessments related to that. You can also choose to do a work placement module in your second year if you wish as well. Okay, so just one of the main modules that I wanted to look at here is the coaching process one that's shared across both degrees. Some of the stuff that we cover here, which is fundamental to your knowledge of coaching and that understanding that I spoke about earlier, are things like learning orientations and coaching styles. So how are you going to go about trying to get your people that you're coaching to learn? How are you going to kind of set the environment? What type of interaction you're going to have with them? What's going to be your style about how you go about coaching that person? That's essentially going to be like the overarching principles of then what you're going to do. And then some of the other aspects which are more specific related to that will be how you're going to set up your practice structure. How are you going to instruct and feedback? What's that going to look like? How much? What's it going to be? How often are you going to demonstrate? How are you going to question your participants in terms of what they're doing to develop their understanding? All these things kind of, all these specific coaching behaviors kind of come from that overarching principles about how we think learning takes place and what our coaching style is going to be. Okay. However, your opinions on that are probably going to change depending on the group you've got and your experience. And I know mine has changed significantly over the years. However, your understanding of that's going to be really important in terms of how we apply it. So again, for this module, we talk about these things in the classroom, and then we can go and apply those things in a practical setting. Okay, I've got a little tennis example here for you. I've got a rally between Rafa Nadal and Novak Djokovic, best two tennis players in the world. And then I've got 2 8-year-olds who are playing who are going to do a rally as well. Some things I want you to think about when you're watching this are how we create an environment that mimics the game. How does that enhance learning? What kind of practice structures we put in place? How does the practice that we put in place, how does that develop the cognitive skills associated with competition? And how will this influence the way that we communicate within a session? So I'll play these simultaneously if you can watch them, and then I'll have a little discussion around these when we're finished. Do these work okay? Okay, so you notice there that we've got 2 very different sets of athletes. However, what they did was very similar. So the first question there is, how do we create an environment that mimics the game? Well, or mimics the competition. And what we've got here is in this bottom picture is that we've got an environment which is kind of scaled. It's scaled down, isn't it? And they've got different equipment. So for example, we've got a smaller court, we've got a lower net, they've got smaller rackets, that are lighter, and they've got a ball which is less compressed, therefore it's not going to bounce as high. Therefore, by scaling and modifying this equipment, these kids are able to play in a similar way as elite players can play. If they were on a full-size court with full-size rackets, full-size net, with a fully compressed ball, the ball's going to bounce really high, the racket's going to be harder to swing, they're going to hit the ball much higher, it's going to be really hard for them to kind of run around a full-size court to return the ball. Therefore, their play is going to look very different to what we saw there with those two elite players. So the environment we set up will influence the way that our athletes can play. And the second question there is, how do we use a practice structure that develops game-related skills? Well, if we just do what we call drills, i.e. we practice 10 forehands, and then we do 10 backhands, and then we do 10 volleys, that is not how you play a game of tennis. So therefore, we need to incorporate a practice structure which is very random and kind of game-related, that will help develop those more game-related skills that the game requires. Also, the next question down there says, how does our practice develop cognitive skills associated with competition? So by having a game-related practice, as the two 8-year-olds had there, they're able to develop their anticipation skills because they've got to look at the opponent, what type of body shape they're making when they're hitting the shot. Then they've got to anticipate where they think the ball's going to go. They've got to then keep an eye on their opponents to where they are on the court when they're going to hit their return. So they've got to look out for information, process it, anticipate, and make a decision. If we do drills where the ball is fed to us and we hit the same shot over and over again, there is very little kind of cognitive development happening there. And then the last one is, this will influence how we communicate in our sessions. So if we do drill-based practice all of the time, which develops technical modification, and we're going to probably give lots of instruction, it's going to be very autocratic. We're going to probably demonstrate a lot, and we're going to want it in a particular way, and we're going to give lots of feedback. And often this isn't the most appropriate way all the time to coach. We need to allow people to develop their own techniques based on fundamental principles that they can then employ within the game and kind of work through and problem solve. We might have to do some technical work. I'm not saying we don't. However, we need to think about how much of that technical work we're doing, and then how much we need them to employ that in a game in a more random, varied way. So the way that we set up practice is really important. And the big mistake we see a lot of our students make is they do kind of closed drills where they pass the ball between each other over 10 yards for 2 minutes. It's completely boring, doesn't really help develop technique very well. However, it's often the way they have been coached. So we try and develop those coaching skills through this type of approach. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea about the way that we teach our students to coach. Probably an important question you want to answer is, how will I be assessed? Well, in the foundation degree, in the PE and sports coaching degree, it's all coursework based. So it's either written coursework, it is presentations, it is online workshops, things like that, lab reports. You don't have any exams in those 2 years. It's all coursework based, coaching practicals, you know, so you're not in an exam hall writing exam answers. In the BSc Sports Coaching Science degree, the 3-year one, pretty much the same as above. There might be one exam in your first year. And after that, you may have 1 or 2 exams in your second and third year. However, this will depend upon the modules that you choose, the optional modules. But it won't be really exam heavy. There'll be practicals, there'll be presentations, there'll be coaching assessments that will come and do in your workplace, for example. There'll be very few exams. Okay, so hopefully that's put any kind of worries at ease. In terms of will you succeed, what makes a good student? Well, normally it is how engaged you are with the course, how much, because that will have a bearing on how much reading you're prepared to do, how much learning you're prepared to do. Being organized is really important. So knowing what assessments you've got in what time, knowing what your timetable is, juggling kind of work and all those things outside and your kind of university studies. So obviously that's really important. being organised and being committed and engaged, if you've got those two things, then you're going to be in a really good position. Okay, and that's going to lead you graduating with a good degree. Often, what students come in with, like their qualifications they come in with, doesn't correlate to what they leave with. So being organised and being committed to your course is really important. And I would say do a degree course that you want to do and that you're engaged with. If you're picking a degree that you're not engaged with, then it's going to be quite a long 3 years, and it's going to be quite difficult to have the motivation to complete your studies. In terms of careers and where our students have gone, some have gone into high-level kind of performance coaching and performance analysis. So we've got students who are at kind of Chelsea in their kind of foundation and academy. We've got a student who was a goalkeeping coach at Arsenal. Some coaches and analysts at QPR Football Club and in their academy. We've got students down at Exeter Chiefs, again doing performance analysis roles. Students that have gone up and done master's degrees in Loughborough and been involved with their high performance cricket programme, and subsequently from that coach in high performance cricket in kind of county and women's development cricket. And then some have gone into participation coaching, so still decent level. Some are like private schools or work at tennis clubs. Others are in charge of involved with swimming in the Surrey area and are in charge of lots of kids and lots of coaches. And then some are doing kind of rugby coaching and strength and conditioning type stuff within their rugby coaching. And then some go into teaching in primary and secondary, which is quite heavy, and others have gone on to do master's degrees, PhD study. Some are now lecturers at different universities, some in Ireland, some in other parts of the country as well. So some students go off and do something completely different. So I think the soft skills and the academic skills that you get while you're here will kind of allow you to go into the coaching world or teaching world or continue in academia, or you can then, go and do other jobs and roles, something completely different, unrelated. So hopefully this has given you a bit of an idea about the 2 degree programs and what our students have gone on to do. If you are interested in this, then please drop me an email. My email is paul.dancy@stmarys.ac.uk. If you go onto the St Mary's website, then you can find my details there as well. And you can find more information about the programs. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and yeah, please get in touch if you're interested.